Hey, thought leaders. This is the personalbranding.com podcast, and I'm your host, Dillon Kivo. Join us to learn how to build a legacy, boost your reputation, and make a lasting impact. Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome back to the personalbranding.com podcast. In this episode, we're going to talk about the elements of influence and how each of them can help you build your authority. If you're new to the podcast, this episode goes along with the chapter 5 of my book, The Authority Playbook, which you can grab on Amazon if you want to follow along. So in each episode, we actually go over a chapter of the book and discuss just kind of different aspects of it and what authority is and how to build your own authority to ultimately help you grow, make more money, all that good stuff. So to boost your network, get your name out there, and increase your marketability, you need influence. It's how everybody already knows who you are when you walk into a room, right? Or if you go to a networking event, same thing. You want people to already know who you are. It gives you leverage. It kind of increases your status, so to speak. I mean, I've been around some amazing speakers, athletes, and artists, and I can tell you that these people, they carry this different kind of presence. It's kind of like a presence that gets you in the front of newspapers and magazines. It's really cool, actually. So influence is made up of 4 elements: reciprocity, consistency, social proof, and of course, my favorite, your personal brand. People with authority, they take those 4 elements and use them to gain credibility and build their reputation. So having influences gives you the ability to create a customer experience. The job of an influencer is to make heads turn, right? When you think about how hard it is to draw in even a potential client to close a deal, it makes sense that influencers need to make a lasting impression. And the elements that we're about to discuss are what can make influencers so effective at doing this. Okay, so number 1 is reciprocity. Have you ever felt so impressed with how just an ad or a spokesperson made you feel that you almost just like felt obligated or guilty to like just buy their product or service? Okay, so number 1 is reciprocity. Have you ever felt so impressed with how an ad or a spokesperson made you feel that you almost felt like obligated to buy the product? Just because of how you felt about the experience, you were willing to spend money. This is called reciprocity. It's the desire to reciprocate the positive feeling that an ad or an influencer gives you by simply buying the product. Or, maybe it was like a demonstration of the product's quality. Maybe it was a great offer for a free trial or a discount, or just the amazing deal that they were giving you. Whatever the reason, you felt the need to just buy the product, and it convinced you to part ways with some hard-earned money to do so, right? This concept drives lots of ad campaigns and marketing strategies, and it's a really effective method. It can create such a strong feeling that it could actually develop into brand loyalty, like for life. In an advertiser's best case scenario is having you buy for life. It has the highest ROI. Knowing how to use reciprocity to your advantage is a huge benefit. The refreshing thing about it is that you can create revenue and push sales just by making people feel good, right? You don't have to deal in anything shady or use pushy marketing tactics. The pushing is all done by the comfort people get when they decide to make the purchase. Loyalty generated from reciprocity is something that you can't just buy or push on people by optimizing your ads or spamming their inboxes with emails, texts, whatever. You need tact and clear understanding of yourself, your product, and the clients you are serving. So next up, number 2, consistency. By the time I was in my 20s, I knew that I wanted to help people by giving them a voice, right? I wanted to make people popular and grow their influence. And after doing it with my mentor, Paul, for a couple of years, I knew that it was time to do it for other people. That's why I founded my publication, Kivo Daily. The thing about digital marketing is that it requires a ton of consistency. Yeah, it's easy to pay for an ad or an article and, to get people to see your brand, but it doesn't stop there. Didn't you know that a buyer needs to see your brand or commercial an average of like 8 to 9 times before they actually decide to pull the trigger? Consistency is an easy topic to understand. You don't go to the gym once. You have to go on a regular basis to actually build the muscle, right? You don't just wash your hair once. You do it several times a week even, right? In the world of influence, consistency is king. There's nothing that boosts your posts and updates like a steady stream of content, right? I remember back when people started vlogging on YouTube, right? I remember like Casey Neistat, right? He was blogging on a daily basis. A new post uploaded at the same time every single day for a year is an insane amount of content, but that's what it takes. The commitment that it takes is huge, but it has definitely paid off for many of them, right? And the same thing applies to emails, tweets, and ads. But the importance of consistency is not limited to just the digital space, right? People are more likely to trust the brand of someone who is consistent and stable in the real world more than somebody who's not, right? Your actions and words need to remain consistent for your audience to grow. The next concept I want to talk about is social proof. Social proof is evidence that other people have gotten value from a product or service, and it can come in the form of an expert promoting a product, a consumer leaving a great review. Imitating the behavior we see in an advertisement is acting on social proof, right? So if you prefer to wear a certain kind of activewear because a celebrity wore it in an advertisement, you're acting on social proof. While I was writing my book, I had the opportunity to do, a couple news interviews, right? And it was a really cool experience for me. And it was huge to boost my brand. But think about it. So if these two people messaged you, who would you rather hire? Someone you've never heard of, or the guy that you saw talking about business on TV? Obviously, TV, the TV guy, right? That's social proof. Most of us prefer a certain brand when it comes to our phones, usually Apple or Samsung. There are other brands out there, but those two are the top selling phones in the world right now. Both of them can call, text, take photos, but we all decide to choose a certain phone over the other. How did we come to that choice? Most of us don't just go around testing each other's smartphone brands or, before we actually buy it. So we ask around for advice. We ask our friends if they got the newest version and how it worked for them, how they like it. And we search for the experts' opinions online, read articles, whatever. Another example of social proof is celebrity endorsements. This can look like an MMA fighter advertising, a stick of deodorant, or a runner doing an ad for an energy drink. This isn't energy, but good concept. What their presence brings to the table is the social proof that this item is so good that they're actually using it, right? This is one of the most valuable tools in an influencer's bag, right? The ability to appear in a picture or video ad can really make the sales of an item just soar. It's an incredible concept, and it makes influencers a whole lot of money. But while social proof is amazing, there can also be a bad side as well, right? As much as it can produce positive peer pressure to buy a product or service, it can also reverse and cause negative peer pressure to avoid using the product or the service. The wisdom of the crowd can sway quickly, and that can be the end of a brand or business, kind of like canceled, right? There have been millions and millions of dollars lost in sales because of boycotts, responses to unethical business practices, right? In lots of cases, just from trends going in a different direction. Kind of like the whole, like Bud Light or whatever with that whole, I won't get into it. As quickly as consumers can buy a product because everyone is getting one, they can just as quickly lose interest because no one is buying those products anymore, right? You need to avoid the negative social proof at all costs. That's literally a PR nightmare. It's the worst thing for your brand. So the last thing that we're going to talk about, my favorite, personal branding. If you're in any position of influence, you'll find that the personalized brand can do a lot to differentiate you from your competition. And I'm not talking about launching a line of like cigars with your name on them or a perfume fragrance, that's like named after you. I'm not talking about launching a line of cigars with your name on them or a perfume, fragrance named after you. I'm talking about branding your service and influence in the form of a recognizable name or logo, right? Let me give you a personal example. So my name is Dillon Kivo, but many of my clients recognize my services falling under the former company name Authority Titans, which has recently been rebranded to personalbranding.com, hence this podcast name. A personal brand can help you in many ways. It can make you more recognizable. It can boost your capacity for monetization, create a sense of scarcity, and even create contrast in a way, right? I want to mainly focus on the last two, scarcity and contrast. So what do those mean in the context of personal branding, and why are they important in the context of influence? A personal brand creates a sense of scarcity for the services you offer because it takes your service and puts them under your name. If you look around for other companies that are just offering similar services, there might be hundreds or even thousands that are competing with you. But a sense of scarcity comes in when there's only one with your name and your personal brand attached to it, right? Kind of like Gary Vee. It's VaynerMedia and all of that. So the level of quality you provide will be associated with your brand, and you become the only one in the world that carries that exact quality of service. It's kind of like a legal monopoly if you think about it. For example, fast food chains create a sense of scarcity by having unique menus with brand-specific items, right? Imagine the fast food chain that you ate at last. When you picture that chain, you probably have a certain location in mind, one that's, right around the corner that you stop to before you go home, or maybe if your wife or significant other makes some bad food, so you just decide to pop in there after. Anyways, you can imagine the logo, there's service there. I mean, everything about it, right? How clean or maybe how dirty it was, how good or bad the food tasted. The list goes on and on. It's those experiences that have attached you to the chain. Were they positive? If so, you probably feel positively towards that brand. If it was negative, it'd be the opposite. Unless you had other experiences that were positive enough to outweigh one bad experience, you probably carry a pretty negative, image in your head associated with that brand or a company. By the way, that's why the quality of your influence is so incredibly important. The experience you provide will be linked to your name and your brand or even your company's name forever. It's easy to mess up a client experience and give your brand a bad name, and it's very hard to fix it after that. Creating a sense of scarcity with a brand name can give your audience a sense of urgency. It really helps create the sense that there aren't any other brands like yours around. And if your brand is identical to other brands in your market, then you don't really have much to offer for your clients. You're probably losing tons of sales. That's why scarcity is what a strong brand needs to stay relevant to their clients. And it's necessary, for your clients to establish that, that brand loyalty. Another benefit of a strong personal brand is creating a clear difference in people's minds. This means that even two products are only slightly different, they can seem very different because of the branding. The difference comes from the labels, the logos, and the story behind the brand, not from the products themselves. This is a super powerful concept. It's why two pairs of shoes that are basically built the same are perceived completely different. If you compare like Gucci shoes with a pair of Pumas, you'll probably think there's a significant difference between the two. But it's not necessarily because one is built so much better or differently than the other. We perceive the two pairs of shoes as being different because of the branding behind the companies. If you switch the logos around, you wouldn't even think about it unless you were a sneaker expert. Building a personal brand can give you competitive influence and differentiate you from competitors. Even though your services might be pretty close to identical. So, just to recap everything that we've talked about, influence is made up of 4 elements: reciprocity, consistency, social proof, and personal brand. Reciprocity makes consumers feel obligated to buy because of their positive impression of your brand. Consistency, it helps to spread awareness. Social proof builds credibility, and personal branding differentiates you from your competition. If you want to build your influence, keep those 4 elements at the top of your list of things to work on. That's it for today. Take care. Thanks for tuning in. I'd love to hear from all of you. Follow and connect with me on all of your favorite social media platforms at Dillon Kivo, DILLONKIV as in Victor O. And until next time, keep building your brand and stay golden.